most people are not true entrepreneurs. I think that there is potential for everybody depending on what they find and if they find a passion, but I also believe there's a difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur.
This episode of Donnie Success Champion is brought to you by the Blue Family Fund. This is a nonprofit that's supporting law officers and their children and the dependents of fallen officers. The great thing about this organization is 100% of every dollar generated, every dollar donated goes right back to the families. Check them out at bluefamilyfund.com. All right, guys, this is really going to be a fun one today. So I'm bringing you Amber Tinsley, and Amber and I have been friends for, a number of years. I don't want to say how many because that, gives away ages and stuff, and she'll probably slap me if I did that. But we have had a blast over the years, lots of ups and downs. We've shared stages together. We've screwed some things up together. So I'm just really looking forward to bringing her in, sharing her story, and having a lot of fun. So Amber, why don't you tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about your journey, and then I'll pick on you a little bit, and we'll have a little bit of fun from there. So, Amber, welcome to the show. Who the hell are you?
Thank you. I'm Amber Tinsley. To tell a little bit about my journey, that would be really tough because nobody knows where to start on that. But I would say I am definitely a serial entrepreneur. I've had multiple businesses, even while Donnie's known me, and then before that, most of them have been pretty much by accident. I haven't necessarily kind of specifically chosen any specific path, kind of just fallen into things and then just gone with it the best I could. So it's always been fun and challenging, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I would say you are the prime poster child for an accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah. I'm my dad's mini-me for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I keep accidentally doing it. I'm like, okay, I guess fine, I'll do it. Fine.
And don't worry, I'm going after Charles next. I'm getting him on the show so we can talk about his. Yeah, him and I will have a good time. So when was the first company you ever started?
Well, I've been a personal trainer forever, and I think I started training when I'm going to have to say age now, about 21. And I think I did it for corporate for a couple of years and knew that wasn't the route I wanted to go, so I started doing it on my own. So I started Tinsley Fitness, and so training on my own, doing it kind of that way, going back and forth. So
right. Well, and how did you? What was that thing that said, I can't work in corporate America? I know what happened to me and why I had to get the hell out of corporate America, but for you, what was that thing that you were like, okay, I'm done. I'm just not working for somebody else?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I think my thing is I tend to do things, as you know, very differently than a lot of other people. Like I don't sell the right way. I just feel like the way I do things is so different. And I think for me, a lot of times, especially when you're in sales positions, you're pushed to hit quota or you have to do this, and it's just never good enough for somebody else who isn't there. And so you just kind of the pressure. And I'm like, goodness, if I'm going to have this much pressure, I might as well do this for myself. And that's been in a lot of the corporate jobs I've had. I tend to work so hard and give so much with minimal reward where, when I'm kind of, the flexibility's not there. Just, again, honestly, it's the pressure. And my thing is I don't need somebody else to hover over me. I'm pretty self-motivated. I know a lot of people do, and that's completely fine. But for me, I don't need to be micromanaged, kind of told how to do things. That typically doesn't work very well. I could typically accomplish the goal, if not, even better or a bigger goal by maybe doing it in my own way or my own style. So.
Well, and I think that's huge because you're really damn self-aware just because I know you and hung out with you for years that you've never been good with somebody saying, hey, do this, do it this way. You've always been kind of that, hey, this is the mission we need to accomplish, figure it out. You've always been really good with that. So you grew up in a very entrepreneur household. Walk us through that a little bit with your dad, your mom, and all the things they created.
Yeah, my dad has been owning his own businesses since he was, I want to say probably in his teens, if not early 20s as well. I think some out of, he had to type of thing, but also he's just constantly, again, I'm his mini-me, coming up with new ideas or better ways of doing things. And that's just always been him. But he's the same way, not traditional in the way that he does, everything that he does, but It's more or less like we just can't help ourselves. We have to have the challenge. I think, especially he would be an asset to any company out there, but sometimes for some people it's just impossible. So
right.
I'm the only kid that's really kind of gone that. He has 5 kids, and my mom, God bless her, has been with him every step of the way in all of his businesses and has supported him, which has been amazing to see. #relationship goals. But yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, when you talk to him, and I know you already have, you'll hear all of his awesome ups and downs too. But it just goes to show that we can be all the way, down here, and then you just never know. You just have to keep pushing. So he's definitely my number one mentor and role model for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you and I have done a lot of crazy things together, from running networking groups and putting on really big events, this, that. I say we put on big events. Really, you did all the work. I just showed up and was kind of the face.
I wasn't going to say anything, but thank you for acknowledging.
So I'm really good about just showing up when all the hard work's been done. That's a really good thing. So what are some of the things people should look for if they're going to become an entrepreneur? I mean, you fell into it. You've accidentally opened several different businesses. You finally have, and I say finally, that sounded rough, but you really have one now that you're all in it. And we're going to talk a lot about crack salsa here in a little while. But if somebody's looking at that entrepreneur career, they're thinking they're tired of working for them. We can call it the man. You can call it, corporate America, whatever the hell you want to call it. How does somebody get started being an entrepreneur? Would you recommend they go into it the way you have?
Well, I'm going to answer this in a way that might seem a little, I know you're going to find this shocking, Donnie, that I answer something in a strange way. To be honest, I don't actually recommend it at all. And I say that because I think most people are not true entrepreneurs. I think that there is potential for everybody depending on what they find and if they find a passion. But I also believe there's a difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. If you find a passion and are really good at it, you can have a business and that business can take you forever, and that's great. But an entrepreneur, I think, is somebody who's kind of continually coming up with business ideas or new ideas or doing new things, not just doing, kind of finding my business that's now my career. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Because I always tell everybody I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. I have my own business, but I'm not the guy that's constantly coming up with 30 different ideas, implementing one or two of them. 100% agree with you. Go ahead.
Even becoming a business owner, to me, it's absolutely not for the faint of heart. We all talk about it and we all are like, yeah, this. But it's because our personalities are typically the type that are like, cool, challenge me, hit me, I'm still going to survive no matter what. That's why we can seem so positive even in the depths of despair sometimes when it's crazy. But the thing is, it is doable. It's all depending on how much you want it. I definitely recommend having a support system in place, whether it's a spouse or, just anything like that, because or a great network, it's pretty much almost impossible to do by yourself. I myself, not married, no family, which sounds great in theory when it comes to owning your own business. But to be honest, it's really hard because there are times whenever you kind of need a reason to kind of push through and to make that next step and to do what you need to do. And sometimes that family or those kids, your spouse or whatever it might be, your grandkids, that's that reason to kind of push you. So it's definitely really hard. And I'm saying that negative stuff, but it's also really great because you do have so many challenging times that the small wins mean so much more. And also realize that nobody around you is going to get it. They're not going to get it. You may have one or two people who are like, girl, I understand. And they're going to wallow with you. That's great. But they're not going to get your idea. They're not going to understand why you're doing what you're doing, why you're on your 47th business idea, so it's, and you're constantly working your brain, you're constantly thinking about it. So,
but Amber, everybody always says, being an entrepreneur, you get to set your own hours, you get to, work at home, you get to do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do. I mean, so why wouldn't somebody want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely 100% reality, I think. So what people have to understand is when you own a business or when you're coming up with a business idea or something, you may be at home or you may be able to make your own hours, which actually, to be honest, flexibility is a huge reason I love doing what I'm doing. Because if I want to take Sunday and Monday off or go do this, I can if I have my finances in place. But your brain is constantly thinking about it. Whereas if you have if you're at a corporate job or, something else, you have a specific role, typically you get to leave that role and come home and enjoy things. But when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, or if you just have that mentality, even if you're not doing it yet, you're never away from your business. You're never away from that challenge, or, you're constantly thinking about it. And that can be problematic with your personal life. So,
well, I tell everybody, the craziest thing that I found is when I started my own business is the 3:00 wake ups. No alarm, no anything. You're sound asleep, and all of a sudden that oh shit moment pops. You're like, crap, did I do that? Or I got this idea that I got to get done. Or you got some thought pops in your head. You got to write the damn thing down. Yeah, yep. Your business becomes your life. And then your life becomes your part of your business. It's not the other way around. What was the first business that after you opened, you look back on and go, damn, I shouldn't have opened this in the first place? Did you have any of those?
I'm going to have to say no. And the reason is I think every business or idea or step or journey, whatever you want to call it, is definitely for a purpose. And it's sometimes, Dad and I talk about this a lot, is that sometimes it's a bridge. Like, it may not be what you're meant to do, but it's something that's going to get you to that next step that's going to get you closer to what you're doing. My businesses, everybody always kind of says what you were kind of, saying at the beginning, is that I've had all these different businesses. But the truth is, again, I fell into those were need-based things that I made work, but those have now set me up and helped me develop so many goals and relationships from those that are now helping me with where I'm at now. And I wouldn't be where I'm at now with my current business if I hadn't done those. So there are things I maybe did during those businesses that I've learned a lot about myself that were challenging. But again, I look at every struggle that I've been through, or just every situation, even if it didn't produce money, I probably lost money a lot, or who knows, those are just, honestly, and I know it's cliche, but those were just truly learning moments. Building blocks that, kind of help me in that next journey. So, and I truly believe that.
Well, and that's coming from an entrepreneur, because a lot of people would look at those themselves going through it as, God, I screwed that up. Those were failures. And my philosophy is you never fail, you quit. And as long as you keep pushing forward, it's never really a failure. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah, and sometimes the success is even knowing when it's time to quit, and not necessarily quit like, oh, I give up, but hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't the path for me, or maybe it's time I need to do this. The recognition is also, that because it's like, I didn't want to quit, but I had to. So no, you're absolutely right.
Well, and I think, some of the things I've loved watching your journey is a couple of the companies that I know you started, you got to the point to where it wasn't scalable. There wasn't that ability to turn it into a more profitable, more revenue business. And it just took you a while to get there. And the one that pops in my mind is the meal prep one. Walk us through that journey a little bit, of how you came up with the concept and how you got to the point where you realized, okay, this doesn't need to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that one was a little crazy. So I'd gone back to personal training, and, as being an entrepreneur, one of those things is where you see a need. That's kind of how to start that business. And I was realizing I could kick everybody's butt all day long, but if I couldn't help control what was going in their mouth, it wasn't going to help their progress. So I slowly started actually kind of just doing some meals for a couple of people. And I realized this was something that was needed. So I said, sure, let's do a meal prep as an official business. Why not? And it got to where I was basically.
Which is how most of your ideas come to play.
Yeah. That's not normal? No, that's not normal. Okay. So,
well, that actually is normal. That's how the best business starts, is there's a need, and you're like, well, I can fill that need. So
yeah. No, for sure. It was a total pain in the ass, though. It was one of those ones that, people still talk about, the meals and everything else, but I was up to about 250, 260 meals I was making every Monday. And it was getting to the point where I was dreading Mondays. Like, I was starting the Wednesday before, I was like, oh my God, I don't want Monday to come. And that to me is the problem. If you aren't enjoying life, if you're not happy, to me, no amount of money is going to, be worth it, in my opinion. So at that point, I was either going to need to try to get investors, which we know how good I am at asking people for money, or figure out that next step. But I was also learning a lot about it too, as far as what was actually legal, what wasn't legal, commercial kitchens, this kind of stuff. So wonderful learning opportunity. I realize I don't mind cooking, but I absolutely hate cleaning the dishes, all of those. So learning, lots of learning.
Yeah, a lot of people that don't know you don't know that you are one of the most introverted persons in the world. I mean,
Yeah,
guys, I am not kidding. She is one of the most shy, bashful people that I've met. But I can tell you this girl's a badass and has gotten in front of rooms and taught at networking. She teaches in front of training classes, but is introverted as hell, become an entrepreneur, which has forced her to get out in the public, which is completely out of her. And she's ran huge networking groups. I mean, just done a lot of shit that a typical introvert doesn't push themselves out of their comfort zone. How did you do that? I mean, I know how you did that because you're just innately a badass and just pushing some of your own demons. But how do you go from being such an introvert to being one of the most connected people in town, running one of the best networking groups in town, speaking on networking, and now giving, presentations with your current business? How does that all happen?
I think, and still extremely introverted. I'm not going to walk up to somebody necessarily and say, hi, my name is Amber. I'll probably throw up on them or something. But for me, it's always, to be honest, it's always been about relationships. As you know, for me, when it comes to even sales, I'm not the type that's going to cold call or walk up to somebody. I'm about referrals. I'm about taking care of people. And when I started running the networking group for the Fort Worth Chamber and putting on events and then, what led into RSVP Underground, for me, it was more or less, what can I do for my people? How can I make sure that I'm creating something for them where, they're getting something out of it? So instead of thinking about it for me, which was, always way more scary, I tried to figure out what I could do to make it a good opportunity for others, to connect other people. So in other words, for me, I had a purpose. I'm not good at just going to a random networking event just for me to be like, hey, I'm going to introduce myself. If I'm running the event, if I'm putting it on or helping host or something else, then I have a purpose. So for me, it was, the shyness is still the introvertness. Is that a word? It's still there. It is now. Okay, thank you. But again, I just tried to, I try to find opportunities that are a little bit more comfortable for me. Or worst case, I go find a spot at the bar and just wait for people to come up to me.
Well, what I loved about it all is you became such a badass that somehow you got me to win an award that I still don't understand how you and I were on that stage together. And it was all, I don't even know what I did to get on that stage with you, but I know we were up with the former mayor as well, sharing
that was awesome.
Inaugural whatever award is, and Bob was such a good dude. He passed away last year, the year before. But I mean, that guys, if that doesn't tell you anything, that somebody who's one of the most shy, bashful people, it got her level of networking, this, that, and that is so badass that she made me look like a badass and got me an award. So
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Absolutely. Good on you. Good on you.
Yeah.
So all this has led up to the current business, which is doing badass. You're getting everywhere with this. Walk us through your current business, what it is, how you came up with it, and all the shit you have going on. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my current business is crack salsa.
And just guys, so you know, one of my favorite things is I saw a picture on Facebook of somebody or a video of somebody walking up to like an attendant and say, "Do you sell crack?"
It's hilarious. It is just so funny where this whole thing has gone, and to be honest, where it's been allowed to go. So this is a total accident. My meal prep business, the one we were just talking about.
Right.
Part of that I had done, I had a meal where I had some salsa in it, and it was an old family recipe I'd tweaked a bunch of times. And so when I stopped the business, people were sad, but there was more people that were like, okay, well, that's really sad, but what about the salsa? And so I had like a handful of people that, I would, every few months I would make some salsa for, so that's great. Last spring, actually, April, 2017, I actually needed a surgery, and I had $1,000 deductible. And so my salsa customers actually said, hey, why don't you try to just see how much salsa you can sell to, see what you can do. So I ended up putting it out there and sold about $700 worth of salsa in about a week. At that time, it was actually called Honey's Damn Good Salsa. And then
I didn't even know that.
yeah, so it was a different name. And then yeah, people were like, oh, that's great. Yeah, we're going to need more. So about every month or two, I started doing more. I came up with the next variety, which was hot. And then over the summer, I came up with the Verde and the Raz G, which is raspberry chipotle. And basically, I was just kind of doing a batch. I would just kind of put it out there on social media. Customers started nicknaming it Crack Salsa because they were addicted, and I thought that was hilarious. So I actually built a Facebook page. Again, it was more just hobby. Started doing it a little more often. And basically, October of last year, I was up to about 300 pints. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to kind of go official and legal with this. Because just so you know, kids, you cannot make salsa in your home and sell it. That is illegal. So, yeah, so started that.
Only if you get caught. I mean, no, absolutely illegal.
Yeah. The problem is, like, when it's your friends, they don't care. They do not care even still, they don't care what the packaging looks like. They're like, I want the salsa. That's why the name fits so well. But man, lots of parking lot deals. People were, I was literally handing pints through people's window. I mean, it was just,
guys, so picture this, literally. She's got a salsa called Crack Salsa, and she's doing deals in a parking lot for her salsa like a crack dealer. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we meet up. I hand it through the window. I mean, they come to my apartment complex. I'm meeting them downstairs. Yeah, like I said, my next shirt's going to say, pretty sure the DEA has me on their watch list.
That's awesome. So walk us through some of the early successes you had with Crack Salsa.
Well, I would say honestly, and this isn't a specific success, but the coolest thing for me was, everything I've done business-wise have always been service-based, for putting on events or personal training or this. So it was really, really cool to have a product because people can say, oh, yeah, they're great at this or they're great at that. But when you have a product and people love it and they keep buying it and they want more, there's such a sense of pride that comes with that. That's very cool. Just people talking about it, posting about it. That was really awesome. But, just the sheer numbers of needing it to be ordered. Basically, as far as successes, it's really hard to tell specific things, but
only because you don't like bragging.
I know, I don't. It's horrible. I mean, I did a random salsa competition for the Hispanic Women's Chamber, I think, and I think I got second place, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like, why not first? But that's fine. I'll try it again next month. It's coming up again. But no, I mean, it was just really fun just to see people, not buying it because they knew me or liked me, but other random strangers, so that was very cool.
No, I liked it. And, one of the funniest things is where did you really start selling these at? I mean, what was the kind of the place people would come to find to buy from your booth? Where were you selling these
breweries?
Breweries, yeah.
No, that has been huge and that's been fun. That's helped me actually. There's been different steps with those that have actually kind of forced me to take other steps, which is why they're now, in retail locations, learning through that process. No, breweries have been awesome. Plus, me, anytime I ever did events before, I always try to make sure it benefits somebody else or another local something. So being able to promote a local, brewery or, this or that was always pretty cool. And then doing the specialty salsas I do with them, it's been awesome too.
Right. And then a part of that journey, you actually bought an RV to make it as your mobile kitchen.
Yeah,
then
I still have it.
How you do?
I do still have it. Yeah, so one of the requirements, for salsa, you have to do it in a commercial kitchen. And so I had started renting, or actually I had a local friend who had a commercial kitchen that I was using. I actually ended up seeing a very cool vintage, 69 Shasta. It had been redone to be basically a prep kitchen. So very cool.
And guys, Google that because it is a cool little RV. I think it's badass.
Just contact me. It's still for sale. No, actually what was so good, it worked out so well for me that within 2 months, I actually grew out of the thing. I got to the point where I wasn't going to have room for help in there, and the number of pints that I was doing was just insane. But again, this is kind of what we talked about earlier is that, looking back on it, I was talking to my dad, I was like, man, was this just a silly investment? But the thing is, I think one of the things I've been successful about with this business is everybody's just been so excited with me and for me. And so every step for everything I've done, everybody's just been like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And people were very excited when I got what I call the crack wagon. And so that process and having that and showing people it in the pictures, the different things I was going to do with it, and then also that was when I actually decided to stop personal training full-time and went full-time to Crack Salsa. And so I made decisions based on that and having that and what I was doing there. Honestly, had I not taken on the crack wagon. I may not have made those decisions yet. And those opened some doors and, got my full focus on it to where it's really helped me take this to the next level again, to where now, because while I was doing that, I started getting the retail locations, and I can't remember if I had found out about my newest award at that point.
And what was the newest award? Because I know you're humble and you don't want to talk about it, so tell us.
Yeah. Well, this one's kind of fun because it's a vote-based one. Yeah, so the Fort Worth Magazine does the Fort Worth Best of each year, and so I actually won the reader's pick for Best Salsa.
Here's the crazy thing about that is in our hometown, you have some big salsa companies here. Renfro Salsas and, a couple of other big names. And you literally, in a sense, just beat out some of the biggest names in the business.
Yeah, which is extremely humbling. But also, to be honest, I mean, again, I'm not going to lie, the salsa's pretty badass. But which I call addicts, my hashtag addicts, are just obsessed, but also so supportive. I know people were just voting and telling everybody else to vote. And, I know part of the competition, a little bit of a popularity contest in some ways, but which, again, luckily I know that I have the salsa to back it up. But that just kind of goes to show how, what a 4-month-old company can do that. So,
but going back to what you said earlier, I mean, everything that you've done in your life has helped you get to where you are. I mean, if you go back to when you and I first met through networking and everything else, I mean, all the networking, all the time you spent in, all the businesses, everything's taught you along the way. And here, your networking prowess early in your career and all the way up to here, it, really paid off big when you found yourself in that situation.
Well, it's been huge. And actually, that's a good point, I think, probably for your listeners, too, is that you have to be careful to never burn bridges. I have, luckily, one of my accidental skills, even though I may not be a person who's like, hey, let's go sit and chat or whatever. My goal has always to still been able to maintain my relationships and know people and, be curious about them. But I have people, about 15, 16 years ago now is when I started my training career. I'm still friends with them on Facebook, a lot of those clients. When I was coaching, I'm still, those kids were 3 and now a couple of them are married and, in college. I know those kids, and I know their families and other parents and just, just maintaining relationships. I think a lot of times people switch a job or switch a position and they kind of just almost let all that go, or I don't want to say burn that bridge, but they just don't take, I think it's important because just because somebody supported you in one area of your life doesn't mean that they won't support you in that next area too. But you have to remember to support them too. It can't be a one-way deal. But luckily, I'm sure it's mom and stepmom, but they're so great at being able to maintain those relationships with people. And so I know I learned those skills from them. But that's huge because you can't have any type of success, again, if you don't have anybody to buy your product or to hire you. So
nice. So where's all of this taking you? I mean, you've had one hell of a fun journey to watch from the sidelines. Where's all this taking you? Where's it going? Where's Crack Salsa going? Are you going to be on the first shuttle to the moon? You're going to see if you can get, Crack Salsa. No, I mean,
yeah. Now, what's been crazy about this is if you had asked me literally 1 month ago, 2, 3 months ago, where I saw this going, it's literally changing so fast. I think in December said I wasn't trying to have anybody sell my salsa. I was just going to kind of do it online and do it the way I've been doing it. And now for about almost 2 months, I've had locations selling my salsa, because there's just so much involved with it as far as licenses and, but you have to have seals and you can't just handwrite all your labels. You actually have to have so learning something all the time. My goal has always been, though, I have to be very careful about not trying to grow too fast or trying to get too big. And I've been very intentional about that here. So all my growth that has happened has been things that have just happened. I haven't necessarily sought any of these out. For example, like Sunflower Shop, I have a really huge following in the Colleyville HEB area, and they actually contacted me. Several other locations have been the same way. And so I'm kind of trying to go where it's naturally happening. I have a larger store that I'm actually going to be taking samples out to today to see about that. So hopefully I'll have news in a little, soon, a couple weeks.
Well, and I think that's a huge point as well, is a lot of people try and force their business. They're trying to push it into retail outlets, this, that, and the other, where you are taking a smart play and waiting for people to kind of come to you, raise their hand and said, hey, we like to put your stuff out there.
Yeah.
I love that model because you already have a tribe, you already have an audience, you already have people that want your stuff. So it takes the sale process out of it.
Yeah, which I'm going to do anything possible to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, I'm not going to be the type to walk to the store and say, hey, try my salsa, sell it. I'm going to be like, I'm going to see who goes to your store. I'm going to make sure they like the salsa, and they're going to tell you to call me to get it.
Right. How did you learn that patience? Because a lot of people don't have it.
I don't know if it's patience or fear. But again, you've known my sales technique or the way I do things is so opposite.
Or lack of sales technique. Go ahead.
Whoa. Wait a minute. I think I've done it pretty well.
You have.
I always say I hate sales, and people always say actually you're really good at it. Just because for me, sales isn't so much about pushing my product or service on somebody. It's more or less about helping them realize that they need it or they want it. Even when I was training, which I was a very successful trainer as far as actually training, but selling as well. And I don't know how I've done it. I don't know if I could duplicate it with anybody else, but it's about the relationship. It's about the person talking, helping give them what they want. If somebody doesn't like salsa, I'm not going to be like, cool, buy a pint anyways, or any of my other jobs, training or whatever it might be. The person it's the person's choice on whether they actually do something or not. So you just have to kind of help them figure out that they need or want something. I have found in this business with other ones as well, but if I'm trying to court a big company that has a lot of employees, but I want them to start allowing me to sell salsa to them, if I randomly go take them samples, chances are I'm going to get almost nothing from that. But if I have somebody who loves my salsa and I give them the samples and they go and, because they've asked me about it, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so many more sales from them because, it was their idea. They loved it, that type of stuff. So as far as patience, I think that's just important because I think anytime you rush something, whether it's a sale, a relationship, this or that, it's almost always going to, it may work out. You never know, but I would say chances are it's just not going to. So I think patience is required. For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Dude, this has been a fun journey. We're getting stacked up against it time-wise, so thank you so much for being on here. But here's the crazy thing, and I don't prepare anybody for this, but if you could leave the listeners with like one thought process, one phrase, one thing that they could take with them on their journey, something that they could, this is – a tool, thought process they could take with them on their journey throughout the rest of their life. What would be that phrase, that thought that you would tell them to have in front of them for the rest of their ride?
I would say don't make it about themselves. Now, I say that because I do think people need to be selfish in some ways, as far as making sure that they're making money and doing what they need to do to take care of their own. But even then, I think the way that you're going to be able to make even more money or do more good out there, depending on what your goals are, is to make sure that you are doing what's best for the person that's in front of you and focusing on that person. A lot of times, when you're talking to somebody or you're at a networking event, you may be talking to one person, but your eyes are going a different direction. You're kind of looking around or we're looking at our phones. I find this all the time when I'm sampling salsa. I'll have like 5 other people around wanting salsa, but I still try to focus on the one person that's in front of me. Because
Absolutely.
that's the most important, what do people want to hear more than anything? They want to hear their own name and they want to know that somebody else is focused on them. So, anytime that you can benefit, others, help others, just put your, whatever you can do whatever you can to try to make sure whatever you're doing is helping in some way. It's doing good for them. Yes, it has to be mutually beneficial, but we can't make it all about ourselves. It can't be selfish. It may work in that moment, but I promise you it's not going to go anywhere else.
Awesome. Amber, thanks so much for being on the show today. It was a blast catching up with you. Great seeing you. Stay out of trouble. And
no promises.
And, guys, we'll get all the links and everything for her salsa, her website, her social pages. All that will be in the show notes so you can reach out to her, and then you can get some crack of your own.
Thank you, Donnie.
You're welcome, dear.
Guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.